Tonight, residents of a Regina care home will not have to move after all, after the Saskatchewan Health Authority saves it from closure. Also, the City of Regina releases its proposed budget with a planned property tax increase for next year. Plus, what's old is new again, unless you lived it the first time. How the Western Development Museum is helping people reminisce.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Friday, November 17th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. A Saskatchewan Party MLA has been kicked out of caucus and stripped of his appointments after facing a criminal charge. Cutknife-Turtleford MLA Ryan Domotor is accused of communicating for the purposes of obtaining sexual services. Earlier this week, the Regina Police Service Vice Unit executed an operation targeting sexual exploitation and human trafficking. Over 2 days, 16 people were arrested. Domotor was among them, arrested at an East Regina hotel mid-afternoon on Thursday. Friday afternoon, Premier Scott Moe released a statement saying he took immediate action after learning about the charge. Moe said, quote, "Those in public office should be working to support vulnerable women, not exploit them," end quote. Domotor was first elected in 2020 and was acclaimed as the Saskatchewan Party candidate for the upcoming 2024 election. The 56-year-old will make his first court appearance on the charge in Regina on January 4th. Residents of a closing Regina care home no longer have to move. The Saskatchewan Health Authority is taking over Regina Lutheran Home, preventing its planned closure next year. Adam Hunter has the details.
In September, the operator of this care home, Eden Care Communities, told residents the facility would close by next April, meaning all long-term care residents would have to move. In October, the SHA said it would not buy the home and take over operations because the building was at its end of life and may require significant repairs. But now things have changed. On Friday, the SHA announced that with government support, it would take over the home. Family members of residents say they're relieved.
We actually thought that we had lost because we hadn't heard anything. And today it was such a surprise, such a pleasant surprise, and very comforting.
Shalmi's father and brother are both residents in the home. She was concerned they'd be separated.
It's going to mean stability. There are a lot of people in here with dementia. One of my family members included in that. Stability is very important. The staff have gotten to know these people and the care that they need, all the minute details. And a lot of the residents have come to know the staff as their second family.
In a statement, the Minister for Seniors, Tim McLeod, says he asked the SHA to reconsider purchasing the home after hearing from Shalmi and other family members. Eden Care CEO says the takeover is great news for all involved.
There's been tears of happiness. There's been cheers, so tears and cheers. There's also been a sense of relief, and there's been this yes, this is great. And everyone's just really happy that everyone is going to stay in place.
The terms of the takeover have not been disclosed. The SHA says the 10 residents who have already moved out have been given the chance to move back in if they so choose. Adam Hunter, CBC News, Regina.
The hockey rink in the town of Wawota is still closed after people at a hockey tournament were believed to have suffered carbon monoxide poisoning last weekend. Thankfully, no one was seriously hurt. The furnace was initially suspected to be the problem, but the Saskatchewan Health Authority now says it was likely caused by a faulty ice cleaning machine. It's not clear if the rink had a functioning carbon monoxide detector. A Saskatoon Fire official says it's vital to have one that works and to immediately get out of any building suspected to have high levels of that gas.
CO gas, or carbon monoxide gas, is a colorless, odorless gas, which realistically, you don't know that you're in amongst it until things start to happen.
SHA official says people in Wawota have been very cooperative. They hope to reopen the rink in the coming days. Researchers at the University of Saskatchewan and the Saskatoon Fire Department are putting their minds together to address homelessness. They're working on a project aimed at fighting housing insecurity. Researchers will be looking at both frontline and economic policies to evaluate how those policies impact homelessness. For instance, the fire department will look at how enforcing bylaws like shutting down unsafe buildings could displace people.
We will provide whatever it is the university wants, whether it's data, if they want to be boots on the ground and actually go with some of our inspectors to meet with the unhoused individuals, to look at some of the structures as well. You know, we've hit a record high this year alone. We've had to close over 50 properties.
And we want to review the existing policies which are available and then implemented at the local, provincial and federal level. And we want to know what are those policies, and then, you know, some of those policies will be more successful than the others. We want to understand, learn and evaluate these policies.
The study is in its initial phase. Preliminary results are expected by the end of next year, with final results in 2 years. The end goal is to create a policy framework to provide solutions and some positive change for homelessness and housing insecurity. The City of Regina is feeling the pinch of inflation. On Friday, it released a proposed budget for 2024 that includes a tax hike and deferring some capital projects. Nicholas Frew has more.
Good afternoon, everyone.
At the top of Friday's proposed budget is a property tax increase of 2.2%. The mayor says the city doesn't have a choice, in large part because of the economy.
Income tax goes to the federal and provincial governments, and their income goes up every single year because income goes up. So they don't have to raise taxes because they already are collecting it naturally with an increase. And so we have very rigid, hard lines. We have to grow our tax base, which you saw a little bit of modest growth. But barring that, when our costs go up, the only avenue we have really is through property tax increases.
The city says the average household will have to pay about $52 more a year in taxes alone in 2024. But when factoring in Regina's utility rate and the waste services fee that starts in the new year, the average household could pay an extra $233 annually in fees. Officials say Regina, like other municipalities, have to pay increased costs to maintain services. They also say inflation is driving up the cost of basic building materials for capital projects, like gravel and concrete, in some cases by up to 30%. City Council will have to deliberate on this proposed budget next month, so it's possible the mill rate could change.
Obviously can't rule out possible mill rate impacts from some of that work that will be done over the next couple of weeks. But I think typically administration, will look hard first internally within the existing budget.
The city says it has not received an approved budget from the Regina Police Service. Its proposed budget was also developed before this week's executive committee meeting about Regina Exhibition Association Limited. But Lacey says he doesn't expect that to affect taxes. Nicholas Frew, CBC News, Regina.
A Saskatoon man who killed his wife, stabbing her 80 times, will be staying behind bars. The province's top court has rejected Blake Schreiner's appeal. Schreiner killed Tammy Brown in their home in 2019. He claimed he suffered from a mental disorder when he killed her. But the trial judge didn't accept that and convicted Schreiner of second-degree murder. He and Brown were separating when he killed her. He alleged to psychiatric doctors that Brown was going to accuse him of being a pedophile to get custody of their children. But then, at his trial, he denied saying that. Schreiner appealed the conviction, saying the judge gave too much weight to the testimony of psychiatrists from Saskatchewan Hospital. The self-proclaimed Queen of Canada and her followers have left the Richmound school they've been staying at for more than 2 months. The town's mayor says Romana Didulo left town on Wednesday. The group left after social media posts showed they had a heater propped up on a propane tank, which is a fire code violation. The village then sent the fire chief, a building inspector, and a bylaw officer to the school. The cult members wouldn't let anyone inside. Instead, we're told the group packed up their vehicles and left. But they didn't go far, camped out 11 kilometers away on farmland.
I'm still thinking they might come back, and if they do, it'll be a letdown, whatever. But when I see them take off, there'll be the biggest party ever, I think. I don't know. It gives you a relief. You don't know the feeling until you live here, I guess. But there's still 7, but we're going to keep working, trying to keep pushing them. I don't care where they are or whatever. Get them out of here.
Miller says the village is exploring some legal avenues that could keep the cult out for good, but would not share the details. A sunny start to our Friday in Regina, and while some of us are continuing to battle against the snow and ice, this husky at a Regina dog park sure is loving life. What's left of the snow might melt away this weekend, but you should enjoy the warmth while you can, because next week things drop right off. Ethan will explain after the break. Stay with us. This year, Alberta witnessed its worst wildfire season on record. Preparing for next year, the province has added a new tool to its firefighting arsenal. Julie Wong has more.
It's a new way to attack wildfires from the air. This nighttime firefighting helicopter has different lighting inside and outside of the chopper, so the pilot and crews can wear night vision goggles. That allows teams to better navigate and see active parts of a fire in the dark.
Firefighting at night can be more effective due to lower temperatures, higher humidities. It's something that I think our organization could do better at, so we identified it as kind of something we could work on, and this aircraft is a tool to support not just aerial firefighting at night, but it can help to support ground firefighting like heavy equipment and crews.
Alberta is believed to be the only province in the country with this type of technology right now. The chopper was used several times this past wildfire season to do reconnaissance, go on water bombing runs, and move crews around at night. The province just got out of its worst wildfire season on record. Close to 1,100 wildfires burned more than 2.2 million hectares. Alberta Wildfire says this tool could give it the upper hand with future wildfires. But one expert says while there are advantages to this type of helicopter, it's best used when fire activity is calmer.
With the fires raging through the night, the helicopter won't be very efficient unless it's a small fire.
Flanagan says if the rollout here is successful, it could be a game changer for other fire agencies across the country. Julia Wong, CBC News, Edmonton.
The weather update is brought to you by Capital GMC Buick Cadillac. 2023 model clearout is on now.
Our weather specialist Ethan Williams joins me now, and we are on like the up of the roller coaster. Mm-hmm. How long till we hit the
screaming and coming down? Yeah. It's well, we've got still a little ways to go here, so thankfully you can enjoy the nice part of the ride before things get not so nice. And that includes today. If you want to get outside right now, I mean, we're still looking at temperatures very nice above the freezing mark through much of south and central Saskatchewan, even in the north in the kind of freezing to -5 range. Really, again, in west central Saskatchewan, where we're seeing those temperatures, many places, including Kindersley Rosetown, getting above the 10-degree mark today. And that means that for you folks there, that was at or above 15 degrees above seasonal for this time of year. Normal is kind of just below freezing for a lot of us in the south and central part of the province. For Saskatoon, for Swift Current, even up north, La Loche and La Ronge, your temperatures today, some 10 degrees above seasonal. And even in the far north and the southeast, Regina included, that 7-8 degrees above seasonal. We'll take that. That's nice for this time of year. Coupled with that is, of course, the sunshine, and that has really been a theme these past couple of days in our skies, and thankfully things staying clear as we head through these next couple of days, it looks like. And that includes tomorrow, nice Saturday in November for us, clouding over a little bit in the north, and want you to keep your eye on this low pressure system, because this is mostly going to be bringing snow and moisture to the north of us in the Northwest Territories and in Nunavut, but it could bring a couple of centimeters to locations in the far north, and maybe even a little bit of mixed precipitation in portions of the Churchill region. Not much rainfall expected from this. Maybe even the northern grain belt around Prince Albert being clipped a little bit. And on the other side of that will quickly move out, but that means that our winds will increase. You won't be able to see it here on this model because this only goes until about Sunday afternoon or so. But after a nice relatively calm weekend. We could see gusts really start to pick up Monday and Tuesday as that system passes us by. The other thing, of course, that system is going to mark is the return to some much colder temperatures like we saw back kind of in October, and maybe even a little bit colder than that. This trough starting to develop in our upper atmosphere, but after this ridge starts to break down off to the west, the next trough moves in, and that's what really starts to cool us down. But in the meantime, Regina, we're kind of averaging out around 5 degrees over these next few days here with the sun. Keep in mind those overnight lows, even though things will be clear in the skies, won't be dropping too far, and then that's when the winds really pick up early next week, and the drop off Wednesday there, you see, could be feeling like minus 20 during the day in Regina, and of course colder than that when we drop a little bit cooler for those overnight lows. Near 10 degrees in Saskatoon these next couple of days, lots of sunshine, lows near freezing as we get into Sunday, and then of course those winds picking up again Monday, Tuesday, minus double digits for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday as well with those chilly overnight lows. The good thing, of course, here, Sam, doesn't look like there's going to be many messy systems for us in the southern part of the province, so at least that's good news there.
All right, thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
And the winner of the George Reed Most Outstanding Player is Chad Kelly.
George Reed's daughter, Georgette, presenting a trophy now named for her father to Toronto Argonauts quarterback Chad Kelly. The yearly award given to the player voted as the CFL's best is now named the George Reed Most Outstanding Player Award. The news was made at the CFL Awards Thursday night in Niagara Falls. Reed won the same award once in 1965 and still holds the CFL record for most 1,000-yard seasons, doing it 11 times. The former Rough Riders fullback died in October. We'll be back after the break. A global supply problem is posing a serious worry to diabetes patients being treated with the drug Ozempic. The suspicion is that the shortage is rooted in the drug being used for weight loss. Avanthika Anand has the story.
Carl Drodge uses Ozempic to treat his type 2 diabetes. Recently, when he went to his pharmacy,
there's nothing available, no Ozempic available. And I started figuring, okay, what am I going to do now? So I put calls into my pharmacy and my doctor and everything else.
Drodge says he's tried every pharmacy in town, only to leave empty-handed every time.
I'm very concerned. I won't say I'm not freaked out by it at this point, but definitely very concerned, which is why I'm trying to get answers.
Luckily, he has enough of an alternate medication to tide him over. But for some other diabetes patients, this shortage could mean life or death.
This is a life-changing drug, and I was reticent to go on it, but then once I got on it, it's like, really? Okay, so the one med that really works good for me now, I can't get it. Why?
This is a day in my life / what I eat in a day on Ozempic, also known as...
Some doctors are blaming TikTok. Videos like this promoting Ozempic as a miracle drug for weight loss.
Well, we know that somewhere between 25 and 50% of prescriptions for Ozempic are probably being used for weight loss.
People are also turning to various online pharmacies to get their Ozempic. All that demand causing intermittent shortages of the drug. In a statement, the manufacturer of Ozempic apologized to patients and healthcare professionals for the shortage, saying, quote, Ozempic is not marketed as a weight loss treatment. Ozempic is not approved for chronic weight management. And that its global production is operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to address patient needs. Health Canada says the shortage is expected to persist till at least the end of March next year. Avanthika Anand, CBC News, Ottawa.
Many businesses are still struggling to recover since the pandemic, and they're about to face even more financial pressure as the deadline approaches to repay federal-backed pandemic loans. Nicole Williams explains.
As the holiday season approaches, business is picking up.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. But like, what's your buddy?
Good news for the many shops and restaurants in Ottawa, some who say it hasn't been the same since the pandemic.
The outlook is pretty bleak. Nationwide, you're looking at 50% of businesses are operating either at a loss or just breaking even.
A bleak outlook after a bleak few years because of the pandemic, which saw nearly 900,000 small businesses and nonprofits across the country tap into the Canada Emergency Business Account, or CEBA, an interest-free loan introduced in April 2020 to help businesses during the height of the pandemic. Each received up to $60,000, with a total of $49 billion paid out.
It was a lifeline at the time. It didn't cover a lot of our expenses, but it did help for sure.
Businesses originally had until the end of this year to pay the money back, and if they did, the federal government would forgive up to $20,000 of the loan. But pandemic recovery has been slow, and many asked for more time. The federal government did push back the deadline, but only by 3 weeks.
It's just math. You can't afford it.
This accountant says that's not enough time. Many of his clients took the loan and are still struggling. He argues in some cases, loans should be forgiven entirely.
This thing is not fair to pay right away or you lose 20 grand. And also it is also not fair because interest rate went up.
More than 13,000 people have signed a petition agreeing with him, asking that the government consider the impacts to small businesses.
Going to be a choice between paying that off and then paying off taxes or paying payroll.
The federal government says the deadlines are final and that the flexibility already shown to businesses is enough. Nicole Williams, CBC News, Ottawa.
And Ethan's back with one last look at your weather.
And we'll start a little on the chilly side in Regina tomorrow morning, but not too bad. Around -7, mostly sunny skies. And of course, that warm up happens quickly. By the noon hour, already over the freezing mark with just a little bit of wind. Saskatoon, I think we'll be seeing pretty similar things too. Full sunshine to start the day tomorrow at around -3. And as we head through the afternoon, already at 4 degrees on the way to a high of around 9 tomorrow in Saskatoon. And those winds not too bad either. And Santa is coming to town in both Regina and Saskatoon on Sunday. Both cities having Santa Claus parades, and the one in Saskatoon starts at 1 o'clock. In Regina, it's a little earlier at the noon hour. Mostly sunny skies, a temperature of around 4 in Regina, 7 in Saskatoon. Maybe not quite feeling like Christmas, Sam, but still nice to sit and enjoy the parade.
That is a quick commute from Regina to Saskatoon for St. Nick.
That's right, yes.
All right, thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
And before we go, long before iPhones and AI, there were fax machines and rotary phones. And if you grew up in the 60s, 70s, or 80s, you probably remember things like that from your youth. Now, the Western Development Museum has a new display, hoping that it hopes people will reminisce with.
What was it like in the olden days? And I reflected, so many changes. We camped, we fished, we entertained ourselves. We didn't have to be entertained.
This is not what we see today, is it?
That's pretty old. Picked it up, dialed the number. The old-fashioned way was done on the digital things. You'd dial the switchboard and say, give me number 26 or something like that. And she would know exactly who that was. And some of them had a reputation of what they called rubbering. That they would listen on the line because they could plug in a circuit on any of the lines that they had there. Talk like this, hello, hello.
The 70s and 80s have some great music, hey? Yeah. Do you still listen to it today?
Yeah, and we dance to it here sometimes.
What's sparking some memories for you guys?
Slinky.
What do you remember about it?
Oh, I played with it coming down the stairs. I played it with this, like this. Corduroy pants.
Corduroy, but not only corduroy, they're bell-bottom pants.
Wow.
Do you have any stories about any ladies in your life that wore shoes like this?
Not that I'm going to tell on air.
And that is it for us this week. For news anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/sask, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or download the CBC News app. Thanks so much for watching this week. Have a great weekend.